Darkness had no end. It was not the gentle dark of sleep. It was heavy, deep, and endless, like being buried under an ocean that never moved. Time did not pass here. There were no dreams, no memories, only silence. Then, a sound, a soft vibration, strange and careful, like someone afraid to wake a monster. Cautious human. The words were slow, pronounced with effort, not spoken by a human mouth. You must not move. Sudden motion may cause damage. You have been in a coma for over 20 years. The darkness cracked. Evan Hale's eyes opened. Light stabbed into him, painful and bright. His breath hitched as his chest struggled to remember how to rise and fall. His body felt wrong, too heavy, too distant, as if it belonged to someone else. Shapes formed above him, curved walls glowing with pale blue light, strange symbols drifting across transparent surfaces. The air smelled clean, sharp, unfamiliar. And then he saw the face. It was not human. The creature was tall and thin, its body wrapped in a smooth, dark uniform. Its skin was pale, almost stone-like, and its eyes were large, glassy, and full of fear. It leaned closer, long fingers hovering but not touching. "Please remain calm," the creature said quickly. "Your heart rate is unstable." Evan tried to speak. Only a broken breath escaped his lips. 20 years. The words echoed in his mind. Heavy and impossible. His last memory hit him all at once. Sirens screaming. Red emergency lights flashing. The alien station shaking as the reactor failed. His team shouting overcomes. Panic bleeding into their voices, he remembered. The door, a massive blast door that would not close fast. Enough. He remembered making the decision. Before fear could stop him, "I'll hold it." He had said. He remembered the heat, the pressure. The moment everything went white, he was supposed to be dead, yet here he was. Earth. Evan whispered at last. His throat burned with the effort. The alien stiffened. Its eyes flicked away, just for a second. "That question requires careful explanation," it said. The creature straightened and placed a hand over its chest, a gesture Evan somehow understood as respect. "I am Supervisor Threx of the Cathari Union," it said. "You are aboard Medical Preservation Station 9. You were recovered from a sealed corridor during a disaster event. Your body was critically damaged." "How?" Evan rasped. "You refused to die," Threx said quietly. The words were not dramatic. They were factual, almost reverent. Threx gestured toward the machines surrounding Evan. Thin cables disappeared into his arms and chest. Soft lights pulsed in slow rhythm, matching his heartbeat. "These systems maintained your organs," Threx continued. "Repaired cellular collapse. Rebuilt neural pathways. We believed you would awaken within months." Threx paused. Months became years. Evan's eyes burned. Not from the light, from the weight of everything he had lost without knowing it. "My team?" he asked. Threx lowered its head. "They survived," it said. "Because you stayed behind." Something inside Evan cracked. He tried to move, to sit up, but pain exploded through his body. His muscles trembled uselessly, thin and weak after decades of stillness. "Easy," Threx said urgently, stepping closer. "Your body has not carried its own weight in a very long time." Evan lay still, breathing hard. "How long?" he asked again, needing to hear it clearly. Threx hesitated, then answered. 23 standard Earth years. The number crushed him. 20-3 years. His parents would be gone. His friends old or dead. The world he knew erased and replaced. Evan stared up at the glowing ceiling, tears sliding silently into his hair. "I missed everything," he whispered. Threx's voice softened. "You were not forgotten," it said. "Among my people, your name is recorded." Evan turned his head slightly, confused. "Recorded? How?" Threx met his gaze. As the human who would not let go, it said. The one who held the door even as his body failed. Outside the chamber, far beyond the walls, something deep and distant rumbled. Threx's eyes flicked toward the sound, then back to Evan. And now, the alien said quietly, fear creeping into its tone, your people are coming. Evan lay in the quiet hum of the station, staring at the ceiling that curved like a living shell. Every light seemed to pulse in rhythm with his weakened heartbeat. He felt like a stranger in his own life, a man who had been frozen while the world around him had moved on without him. Threx stayed nearby, silent for a long moment, then began to speak. His voice was gentle, almost afraid that the words themselves could break Evan's fragile mind. While you slept, human, Threx began, your world changed. Your species. It did not fall. It did not vanish. It rose. Evan's brow furrowed. Rose? How? Your people learned, Threx said. Faster than anyone expected. They adapted technology, some from us, some from their own ingenuity. They rebuilt cities, formed fleets, colonized orbiting stations, and fought wars they should have lost. And yet, they survived. Evan closed his eyes. The image was almost unbearable. He had slept through decades, while humans he had known or known of had lived, fought, and died. Time had swept through without him, leaving only shadows of what he once called home. They called you a hero, Threx continued. Not only for your actions during the disaster, but because your refusal to die became a symbol. Among humans, you are known as the first who would not let go. Even those who never met you speak of your courage. Evan's throat tightened. Symbols, names, histories. None of it could fill the emptiness of 20 years lost. His parents, his friends, Commander Ralston, who had laughed at his jokes. All gone. The world he remembered was a ghost now, replaced by a human civilization that had become something he did not yet understand. Where are they now? He asked finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Threx hesitated, choosing words as carefully as a surgeon handles a blade. Your people are stronger. They explore the stars. They command fleets. They have allies and enemies. Powerful enemies. But they endure. Evan's eyes opened. Enemies? Who? The coalition of worlds you once feared. They still exist, Threx said. Many hoped that humans would weaken after your disappearance. They did not. Humans grew, despite the odds. And now, the coalition sees them as unstoppable. Evan swallowed, the weight of the revelation pressing into his chest. Fear and awe tangled in his mind. Humans, his species, had become a force of nature without him. He felt pride, yes, but it was overshadowed by guilt, by the haunting thought that he had missed it all. You mean I slept through their greatest years, Evan said, voice breaking. I wasn't there for them. I couldn't help them. Threx knelt beside him, long fingers resting lightly on the edge of the medical bed. You helped them in the only way you could at the time. You stayed. You endured. That inspired others. Humanity survived because some refused to let go, and you were their first example. Evan shook his head. But I didn't choose this. I didn't wake up to see it. You do now, Threx said gently. And there is a reason we have brought you back. Evan's heart skipped a beat. Why? Because, Threx said, voice low and urgent, they are coming. Your people humans are returning to this region of space. And the worlds around you, including this station, are in their path. Evan's stomach twisted. The humans he knew, he had imagined them brave, resourceful, but also tempered by morality, had grown into legends he had only just heard of. Now they were coming, unstoppable, and he had been absent for all the years they built themselves into a power no one could ignore. Coming for what? He asked, dread curling in his chest. Some will resist. Some will fight. Some will mistake your people's approach as a threat, Threx explained. They may destroy everything. Unless you speak for them. Evan's mind spun. Speak for them? He could barely stand. He had spent decades in unconscious limbo. He was a man out of time, body broken, muscles weak. Could he confront the greatest force the galaxy had ever seen? Could he even begin to understand what humanity had become? Threx's eyes glimmered with a strange mixture of hope and fear. You are the one who can remind them who you are and why they must listen. Not as a soldier, not as a diplomat, but as the first human who would not let go. They respect you even after 20 years of silence. Evan swallowed hard. 20 years had passed, yet somehow he was still needed. Somehow he was still alive for a reason. The quiet hum of the station felt heavier now, filled with the weight of responsibility and time lost. Outside the walls, distant stars glimmered coldly. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of this quiet chamber, humanity was approaching, and Evan would have to find a way to stand again, against a galaxy that had moved on without him. He took a deep breath, pain shooting through muscles that no longer remembered their strength. And then, almost instinctively, he whispered to the alien at his side, I have to try. Threx nodded solemnly. The first step had been taken. The man who slept through history was waking, and the galaxy would feel the stirrings of a human who refused to remain silent. Evan woke slowly that morning, though it felt like every moment was a battle. His body ached, muscles trembling as he tried to move. Every motion reminded him that 23 years of stillness had left him fragile human in the truest sense. And yet, he felt something deep inside, a fire he did not expect, something that had always been there, waiting. Threx watched him quietly, the alien's eyes full of a strange tension. There is more you must understand, Threx said. Your people, they are feared. Across multiple systems. Even among those who once welcomed them, Evan frowned. Feared? Humans? Why? Because humans do not surrender, Threx explained. Not when hope is lost. Not when their bodies fail. Not when everything seems impossible. Your species endures, you adapt. You fight. You survive. Where others stop, humans continue. Even when broken. Even when dying. Especially when dying. Evan swallowed, the words strange yet familiar. Humans had always had a stubborn streak. He remembered it from his own training, from his own missions. But this was on a scale he could barely imagine. Why am I being told this now? Evan asked, voice still weak, rough from disuse. Because your people are returning. Threx said, voice low, trembling with worry. The fleet you helped inspire is approaching this sector. Not all will know you are alive. Some will see this station as hostile. Some may attack without hesitation. If that happens, we cannot survive against them. Evan's chest tightened. He wanted to hate the humans, to see them as invaders. But he could not. Deep in his bones, he knew their instincts, their determination, their will. Humanity did not give up, and now it was coming for him and for the station that had been his sanctuary, the alien crew that had kept him alive. They trust you? He asked. Threx's eyes were wide. Yes and no. They respect your memory. They have been told stories. But respect alone does not prevent destruction. Your presence may save us. Evan's mind spun. 23 years of sleep, 23 years of watching history pass by in silence. And now he had to face the most dangerous humans the galaxy had ever produced. Could he stop them? Could he reason with them? Could he even stand before them and speak? He felt fear, sharp and cold. But under it was something stronger. A spark, tiny but alive, reminding him who he was. Evan Hale, the man who had refused to die. The man who had held the door when everyone else fled. That was who he still was, even if the body was weak, even if time had passed him by. Threx gestured toward the main viewport. Outside, faint but unmistakable, lights flickered in the darkness of space. Ships massive, moving with precision and purpose. Human ships. They were enormous, far larger than anything Evan remembered. Hulls scarred from battles, engines glowing as they cut through the void. No words broadcast. No warning. Just presence. Commanding attention by sheer will. They do not broadcast? Evan asked, his voice barely a whisper. Humans have learned that words are not always necessary, Threx said. Their presence is enough. Others notice. Others fear, and yet, if they realize you are here, they will listen, Evan said, almost to himself. Threx tilted its head. They may. Or they may not. We do not know how they will respond. You are the link, the bridge. The reminder that humans remember the past. That they honor those who came before them. Evan's stomach twisted. Bridge. Link. Reminder. All heavy words for a man who could barely stand. And yet, responsibility pressed down on him, heavier than gravity. He realized he was no longer just a man waking from a coma. He was the symbol of humanity itself, fragile and imperfect, yet capable of swaying the course of events across the stars. Then I will try, Evan said, voice firm despite its weakness. I will stand. I will speak. I will make them see reason. Threx exhaled, a sound strange for its kind, almost like relief. That is all we can ask. And yet, the alien's eyes flicked toward the approaching fleet. Fear darkened its face. They may not understand peace. They may only understand strength. Evan's hands clenched the edges of the medical bed. Then I will show them strength, he said. Not in weapons. Not in fire, but in who we are. What humanity is. What I am. The station trembled faintly, a distant warning of dangers yet unseen. Outside, stars glimmered coldly, indifferent to human struggles. Inside, a man who had slept through history prepared to rise. Weak, fragile, uncertain, but a live dot, and for the first time since awakening, Evan felt hope. A quiet, stubborn hope. He had missed decades of life, and yet, the galaxy still needed him. The humans were coming. And when they arrived, they would see a human who refused to be forgotten. He rose, slowly, painfully, every muscle screaming. Pain was a reminder that he was alive. Weakness reminded him he was human. And humanity, Evan realized, always survived, even against the impossible, even against time itself. The first steps were agony. Evan's legs trembled violently as he tried to rise from the bed. Muscles that had not been used in 23 years screamed in protest. Every movement sent bolts of pain shooting through his body. His hands shook as he gripped the railing, knuckles white. Even breathing felt like work. Yet deep inside, something stubborn refused to let him fall back. You are moving too fast, Threx warned, its long fingers hovering, ready to catch him. You must allow your body to adjust. One step at a time. One moment at a time. I have no choice, Evan said through gritted teeth. I have to move. I have to. Be ready. Threx's eyes softened. You may think you are ready, human, but your body is not your mind. They are separate now. Evan nodded, pain radiating through every limb. Still, he forced his weight forward, foot after trembling foot. The station's floor beneath him seemed both alien and familiar. He could feel the hum of life support, the vibrations of distant engines, the soft pulse of the medical systems that had kept him alive all these years. They were his cradle, his anchor, and now, his battlefield. Good, Threx said after what felt like an eternity. You are standing. Now, balance. Strength is not only in muscle. It is in patience. Evan's vision blurred. He felt dizzy, weak, but he nodded, determined. He would not collapse. He could not. The humans were coming. The humans he had slept through, the humans he had watched grow in stories and records, were approaching. And he had to face them. For hours, they practiced. Not combat, not weapons, but movement. Walking, standing. Simple gestures that required coordination and control. Every misstep sent Evan sprawling or gripping walls, gasping in pain. Threx remained patient, guiding him, encouraging him, correcting him without words of reproach, only quiet instruction. You will stand before them. Threx said finally, and you will need to appear. Human, strong, but not invincible. Brave, but not reckless. You must remind them who you are. Evan clenched his fists. The memory of the past decades pressed down on him. Faces of friends, of fallen comrades, of Earth itself gone. And yet, they had built something without him. Something unthinkable. Fleet after fleet, colonies rising among the stars, humanity surviving the impossible. He could feel the weight of it all. The responsibility, the history, the silent legacy of a species that refused to surrender. And he felt fear. Sharp, like ice sliding down his spine. But fear now fueled determination. He would not cower. He would not fail. Hours turned into days. Evan's body slowly remembered how to support itself. Muscles that had been fibers of memory slowly strengthened. Limbs moved without collapsing under weight. His breath came easier, his heart steadier. Pain remained, but it was no longer a chain. It was a reminder that he was alive. Finally, he could move across the chamber without assistance. Step by slow step, he reached the viewport. Outside, the stars shimmered coldly, and their lights moving in formation. Human ships. Not just a few, but dozens. Dozens of massive vessels, engines burning faintly in the darkness, hulls scarred by battles that Evan could not have imagined. They are here, Threx said, its voice barely above a whisper. And they will not wait for answers. Evan's chest tightened. The stories had not prepared him for this. These were humans grown into legends. Humans who carried the strength of decades he had missed. And now they were approaching, silent, deliberate, ready to act. I need to speak to them, Evan said, voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. They will listen to me. If I can show them who I am. Threx hesitated. You are weak, human. Your mind may be sharp, but your body is fragile. They may see weakness and respond with force. Evan turned, gaze firm. Then I will show them strength of a different kind. Strength they cannot ignore. I am Evan Hawley. I survived what was impossible. I will not be ignored. The alien nodded, an almost imperceptible flicker of relief crossing its face. Very well. The channel is ready. You may speak to them. But remember, words alone are not enough. Presence. Courage, belief. These are what will guide them. Evan's hands rested on the viewport, cold metal under trembling fingers. He could see the formation of the human fleet clearly now. Enormous, unyielding, silent, powerful. They were the living embodiment of the species he had slept through. And now he would meet them. He inhaled deeply. Every nerve screamed, every muscle protested, but he stood tall, shoulders back, chest forward. Pain was still there, but so was defiance. Weak, human, imperfect, but alive, and when humanity came, they would see him not as a man broken by time, but as a human who refused to die. The first step into history had been taken. The next step facing the fleet was about to begin. Evan stood at the viewport, the cold metal of the station beneath his hands grounding him in reality. Outside, the human fleet drifted closer, silent and enormous. hulls glinting in the starlight, engines glowing faintly, a symbol of power and endurance. He had never seen anything like it in life or in memory. These were the humans he had dreamed of, the humans who had carried the name of Earth into the stars. And now they were approaching his sanctuary, the station that had kept him alive. Threats hovered behind him. They will not respond kindly if they perceive a threat, the alien warned. Every decision you make now could determine life or death, for them, for us. Evan inhaled, forcing the fear back down. His body was fragile, yes, but his voice, his presence, was the one thing that could bridge the gap between species. He remembered the man he had been. He remembered the courage that had held the reactor door shut, the defiance that had refused to die. That human had not vanished. That human was here. Open the channel, Evan said, voice strong despite the weakness in his limbs. A soft beep signaled connection. The stars seemed to hold their breath. Then, a human voice came over the speakers, sharp, commanding, filled with authority and a hint of disbelief. "This is Commander Cellini of the Earth Defense Fleet," the voice said. "Identify yourself. State your intent. You are in restricted space. You have 5 minutes to respond." Evan's chest tightened. 5 minutes. Not long. He had to speak, but every word had to carry weight, truth, and authority. He straightened as best he could, summoning the presence that had once made him a leader. Even as his body shook, "I am Evan Hawley," he said, voice clear and steady. "Human service number 0174. I served during the first contact mission on Station Omega 9. I survived. I have been preserved for over 23 years. There was silence. Then a sharp intake of breath, almost audible even through the coms. "Evan Hawley?" The commander said, disbelief evident. "Impossible. You were lost, killed in the Omega 9 disaster." "I was not," Evan said. "I remained behind to protect others. I was preserved by Thrax and the Cathari Union. I have not returned to Earth until now because—" He paused, struggling to condense decades of absence into a single truth. "Because you needed to know humanity remembers those who sacrifice. I am here to prevent needless conflict. Your fleet approaches a station that is not hostile. Violence will serve no one." The silence stretched. Tension thrummed in the air like a live wire. Evan's body trembled, fatigue gnawing at every nerve. And yet, he remained upright. He was the bridge between the humans he had slept through, and the alien world that had nurtured him back to life. Then, unexpectedly, a different tone entered the coms. Human voices shouting, arguing, confused cracked through. Some demanded weapons fire, some demanded caution. The fleet was tense. They had grown strong, independent, and ruthless in the years Evan had missed. And yet, even now, his name commanded attention. "Stand down," Evan said, louder now, more forceful. "I am the human you seek. Do not act out of fear. I will speak, and you will listen. I am alive. I am Evan Hawley, and I know what humanity is capable of, but I also know what humanity can choose." For the first time, the fleet paused. Engines dimmed slightly. Ships held position. They had recognized him. Not as a legend, not as a symbol, but as the man who had survived impossibility. "Why should we listen?" A voice asked, sharp and skeptical. "Because I am human," Evan said, voice steady, unwavering. "And humans do not forget. We remember our history. We honor sacrifice. And I am here to prevent needless bloodshed. We do not always fight. Sometimes we lead. Sometimes we protect. Sometimes we forgive." Thrax, hovering nearby, could barely contain its relief. The humans were listening. They were holding their fire. Evan felt something warm bloom in his chest. It was hope. Hard-won, fragile, yet undeniable. 23 years of absence had not erased the weight of his presence. 23 years of sleep had not diminished the fire inside him. Humanity had grown in his absence, but his voice still mattered. "Your fleet," Evan said, eyes closing for a moment as he steadied himself, "is powerful, yes. You can crush worlds, topple stations, erase enemies. But strength is not only measured in weapons. Strength is measured in the choices we make. Right now you can choose peace. Right now you can honor history, not repeat mistakes. Listen. Because the humans who came before you, who made sacrifices, who endured, would want it this way. And I am one of them." Silence returned, heavy and electric. Outside the viewport, human ships glimmered, engines idling but ready. Somewhere deep in the fleet, Commander Cellini exhaled. "Evan Hale. Stand by. We are listening." Evan's knees trembled, his body weak and aching. But his heart soared. For the first time since awakening, he felt the impossible. He had held their attention. He had bridged centuries, species, and fear itself. And now, he could lead humanity and the aliens toward a future that had seemed lost. The first step in this new chapter had been taken. Words were spoken. The human fleet waited. And Evan Hale, the human who refused to die, stood at the center of it all, ready to show the galaxy what humanity truly meant. The human fleet held its position, engines dimmed, weapons silent. Across the void, stars shimmered coldly, indifferent to the tension that filled the station. Inside, Evan Hale stood tall, though every muscle in his body screamed with fatigue. Pain was a constant companion now, yet he did not falter. The past 23 years had taken everything from him: his youth, his friends, his family, but they had not taken his voice. They had not taken his courage. He turned slowly to Threx, whose pale eyes reflected both awe and fear. "I cannot do this alone," Evan said quietly. "I need you to trust me, as you did when you preserved me. I will speak for humanity, but you must believe in the choice we make. The choice not to destroy when destruction is easy." Threx nodded, the alien's long fingers clasped together nervously. "We trust you," it whispered, "even if the others do not." Evan took a deep breath and focused on the viewport. The human fleet was immense, each ship a testament to human ingenuity, endurance, and resolve. But what truly mattered now was not their size or their power. It was their hearts, their minds, their capacity to listen. That was humanity's true strength. "You know me," Evan said over the comms, his voice steady despite exhaustion. "You know what humans are capable of. You know our fire, our will, our relentlessness. But that is not all we are. Strength without control is chaos. Power without wisdom is destruction. Humanity remembers mercy, remembers honor, remembers those who have given everything so others may live." A silence followed. The fleet did not respond with words, only subtle adjustments, engines slowing, formations shifting slightly. Evan continued, feeling the weight of the moment press into his chest. "I was preserved by Threx and the Cathari Union," he said. "For 23 years they kept me alive, rebuilding my body when it failed. They chose mercy. They chose life. That is what I am asking you to see now. Even in the darkest places, we recognize the value of life. Even in the strongest humans, there is respect for those who act with honor." He paused, letting his words sink in. Across the void, he could sense the fleet listening. Not just hearing, but understanding. The humans had grown in the years he slept, but deep inside, they were still the same species, proud, fierce, and capable of compassion. "This station is not your enemy," he said. "The Cathari saved me, and in doing so, they preserved a part of humanity's soul. If you attack, you will destroy more than metal and machines. You will destroy bridges built over decades, the very proof that humans can choose peace when it is hardest to choose. But if you listen, if you wait, You may find allies where you expected only enemies. From deep within the fleet, another voice spoke, a young officer, hesitant but curious. Are you certain? She asked. That this is safe? Evan's voice softened, filled with quiet certainty. Nothing in life is guaranteed. But there is a difference between certainty and choice. We can choose to destroy, or we can choose to understand. And that choice, that is what defines humanity. Threx watched silently, tears glimmering in its stone-like eyes. For decades, the alien species had feared humans, not for their intelligence, not for their technology, but for their will. And yet now here stood one human, frail yet resolute, reminding both humans and aliens what made humanity exceptional. Slowly, one by one, the human ships powered down weapons, engines humming low in a gesture of trust. The tension that had threatened to erupt across the void softened into something fragile and powerful. Hope. Evan's chest tightened, the weight of relief almost painful. He had done it. Against exhaustion, against decades of absence, he had reminded the galaxy that humans were more than weapons. Humans were endurance, morality, and courage woven together. They could fight, yes, but they could also forgive, protect, and inspire. Across the station, the alien crew gathered, their long limbs trembling with emotion. They had witnessed something extraordinary, a human who had slept through history, who had awoken to speak truth and restraint, and who had reminded both sides that the galaxy could be changed not only by force, but by the choices of a single human willing to stand and speak. Evan sank into a chair, muscles burning, lungs aching, but heart soaring. He looked at Threx. It is done, he whispered. They understand. At least for now. We are safe. Threx's voice shook with relief. You have done more than survive, human. You have led. You have taught. Evan smiled faintly, exhausted but unbroken. No, he said softly. You have all taught me too. That even after decades of darkness, life is still worth standing for. Even when the world moves on without you, you can still make a difference. And for the first time since awakening, Evan Hale felt complete, not because the past had been restored, but because the future was now in his hands. The humans had listened. The aliens had survived. And the galaxy had witnessed the true strength of humanity. Courage, mercy, and unyielding hope. Time moved slowly on the station after the human fleet had stood down. Silence hung over the corridors like a gentle weight, a promise that the worst had passed, but Evan Howell knew that history did not forgive weakness, and peace was always temporary. He sat in the observation room, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. They were the same stars he had once dreamed of reaching. Yet now, they carried stories he had missed. Fleets he had never commanded, and worlds he had never seen. Threx approached quietly, careful not to disturb the fragile peace. You have done what few could, the alien said softly. You have reminded humanity of itself. And you have reminded others that humans are not to be underestimated. Evan smiled faintly, exhaustion etched in every line of his face. His body ached, muscles trembling even in rest. Yet there was something more alive in him now than in any day of his previous life, the knowledge that he had made a difference, that his voice, his presence, had shaped the galaxy in ways impossible to measure. I did what I could, he whispered. But it was never about me alone. It was about the humans who came after me. The humans who built fleets, colonies, and dreams while I slept. They are the ones who carried the fire forward. I just helped them remember who they are. Threx's eyes glimmered with what Evan could only interpret as admiration and something like awe. It is not common among any species, Threx said, to rise from the brink of death, to stand after decades of absence, and to remind others of their own strength. You are extraordinary. Evan shook his head. No, I am human. That is all. Humans endure. Humans fight, yes, but we also remember. We honor sacrifice. And sometimes, we forgive. That is what I wanted them to see. Far across the void, the human fleet began to move again. Slower now, not in anger, but in respect. Some ships adjusted formation, signaling acknowledgement. Evan knew that in their hearts, they had recognized the truth. Humanity was more than weapons, more than power. Humanity was choice, morality, and courage. And he, Evan Hawley, had been the living reminder. Days passed. The station slowly returned to its rhythm. Alien crew members whispered among themselves, often glancing at Evan with reverence. Even Threx, usually stoic and disciplined, allowed emotions to show openly: hope, pride, and relief all mingled in the alien's expressive eyes. Evan began to walk the corridors more freely now, each step a testament to perseverance. His body was still weak, but each movement reminded him that life was fragile, and that fragility made strength all the more remarkable. Everywhere he went, the alien crew watched him, learning from his endurance, inspired by his courage. "You have changed them," Threx said one evening, as Evan rested in a quiet chamber. "Not just the humans, but my people too. They see now that humans are not merely destructive. Humans are capable of greatness, mercy, honor, and courage intertwined. And you are the proof." Evan looked out at the stars, a gentle smile forming despite the pain that still lingered in his body. "I only woke up," he said softly. "They built everything else without me. I just reminded them who they could be. That's all any human can ever do: inspire, protect, stand." Years passed on the station. Evan grew older, though his spirit never wavered. He witnessed the humans establish stronger alliances, prevent conflicts, and even aid species who had once feared them. He became a symbol, not of power or war, but of humanity itself, a living reminder that even in the darkest times, even after decades lost, one human could wake, speak, and change the course of history. When his time finally came, Evan Hawley passed quietly in the chamber where he had awakened. The station's lights dimmed in respect. Threx and the crew gathered around, long limbs and pale skin trembling, eyes filled with tears they could not hide. They placed a plaque upon the wall, simple in words but monumental in meaning. "Here rests a human woe slept through historian, woke to remind the galaxy of humanity's pure view far above." The human fleet aligned silently in orbit, their engines dimmed in a gesture of mourning and respect. Commander Cellini sent a single transmission across the void. "Evan Hale's courage reminds us all that humans endure, that humans lead, and that humans remember. His legacy will guide us forward." And so, across countless systems, aliens and humans alike came to understand something new. Humans were not merely unstoppable in war, not merely clever or relentless. Humans were capable of choosing mercy, of lifting others, of standing tall even when the world seemed to have forgotten them. Evan Hawley had lived, had awoken, had spoken, and through him, the galaxy had witnessed the enduring spirit of humanity. The man who refused to die had become a symbol, a bridge, and a promise. If a human is ever lost, do not fear, for when they wake, they remember. And when humans remember, they rise.